I was assigned to investigate the disturbance at Blackthorn Manor. The call came in at dusk. A passerby reported a chilling scream, and though the house had been abandoned for decades, its sinister reputation preceded it. I'd heard the tales of Blackthorn as a child, a home of tragedy, madness, and whispers said to drive its inhabitants to the brink of insanity. I brushed those stories aside as mere folklore. Tonight, however, I would confront the truth. The moment I stepped out of my car, I felt the weight of the place. The towering, decaying structure loomed against the backdrop of an ashen sky. Its gaping windows seemed like eyes, watching my every move. I radioed dispatch to confirm my arrival and approached the heavy wooden door. It creaked open with a barest push, as if inviting me in. The air inside was thick and damp, carrying a faint metallic tang that set me on edge. My flashlight beam cut through the darkness, illuminating peeling wallpaper and furniture draped in dust-covered sheets. The silence was oppressive, save for the occasional groan of the old house settling. Then came the whispers, soft at first, almost imperceptible. My mind struggled to make sense of them. Words? No, just a hissing murmur, like the rustle of dead leaves. I shook it off as the wind slipping through cracks in the walls. But as I moved deeper into the house, the whispers followed, growing clearer. They seemed to swirl around me, brushing past my ears, retreating just as I turned to find their source. In the master bedroom, the scene shifted from eerie to horrifying. On the canopied bed lay a woman, her pale skin stark against the crimson-stained sheets. She was alive but barely, her chest rising and falling in shallow, labored breaths. Her eyes fluttered open as I approached, lips parted to form a single, rasped word. Run. Before I could react, a creak overhead drew my attention. The ceiling groaned as if something or someone moved above me. My pulse quickened. I called for backup, but the static-filled response was garbled, useless. I noticed a rope dangling from the ceiling, a pull cord for an attic entrance. My gut told me to wait for support, but the whispers had grown louder, almost insistent. Something in me, a mixture of dread and grim curiosity, compelled me to climb. The attic ladder protested under my weight, each step amplifying my unease. The attic itself was dim, my flashlight casting long, jittery shadows. At the far end, crouched in the corner, was a man. He was gaunt, his clothes tattered, his fingers blackened with grime and blood. He didn't seem to notice me at first, too engrossed in scrawling something onto the walls. Symbols, strange and chaotic, spiraled out from his corner like a deranged mural. Police! I called out, step away from the wall, hands where I can see them. He froze, then turned to face me. His eyes glinted with a wild, unhinged light. His lips curled into a smile that chilled me to my core. He whispered, "They're coming," and lunged. I barely had time to react. A glint of steel caught my eye, a blade in his hand. My training kicked in, and we struggled amidst the suffocating confines of the attic. His strength was feral, almost inhuman, but I managed to disarm him and wrestle him to the ground, securing him with my cuffs. His laughter echoed to the attic, a sound so hollow and maniacal it seemed to reverberate in my bones. As I led him downstairs, his ramblings grew more coherent, yet no less disturbing. He spoke of summoning the house's spirits, unlocking its truths, and offering sacrifices to something he called the shadow host. I tried to tune him out, but his words clung to me like cobwebs. An ambulance arrived to transport the injured woman to the hospital, and additional officers took the man into custody. I stayed behind to secure the scene and document the bizarre symbols in the attic. That's when the whispers returned. They were louder now, insistent and angry. They seemed to emanate from every wall, every crevice. My flashlight flickered and a cold breeze swept through the house, carrying with it the unmistakable scent of decay. I felt a presence, oppressive and malevolent, circling me like a predator sizing up its prey. I don't remember running. I don't remember leaving the house. All I know is I found myself outside, gasping for air, my heart hammering in my chest. My colleagues found me moments later, pale and shaken. They didn't believe me when I told them about the whispers. No one did. The woman survived, though she refused to speak of what had happened to her inside the manor. The man identified as a local historian, was charged with assault and trespassing. He claimed the spirits had guided him to the house, promising him enlightenment in exchange for blood. His trial was a spectacle, but his conviction did little to ease the unease that lingered in the town. Weeks later, rumors began to spread. Locals swore they could hear whispers emanating from Blackthorn Manor on quiet nights. Some claimed the house called to them in their dreams, beckoning them to return. For a while, I tried to forget. I told myself it was just another case, another lunatic, another house with creaky floorboards. But deep down, I knew better. The manor wasn't just haunted, it was alive. And I feared it wasn't finished with me yet. The moment I inherited my grandmother's Victorian mansion, I felt both exhilarated and apprehensive. For years, she had been a distant figure, her name spoken only in hushed tones by my parents. I never truly knew her, so this inheritance came as a surprise. When the lawyer handed me the old brass key, I felt its cold weight like a tether to a forgotten past. I arrived at the mansion at twilight, the sun casting long shadows over the decaying structure. The villagers had watched me with a mix of pity and fear as I passed through their small, somber town. Whispers followed me, fragmented warnings about curses and shadows clinging to property. But I was a historian, a seeker of truth, not one to be cowed by folklore. The mansion stood at the edge of the village, an ominous silhouette against the darkening sky. Its windows were clouded with grime, its once grand facade crumbling. Despite its eerie exterior, I felt a thrill of discovery. What secrets might it hold? The inside was no less foreboding. Dust coated every surface, and the air smelled of decay and forgotten memories. I wandered through the rooms, my flashlight revealing faded wallpaper and broken furniture. I told myself I'd start cataloging the contents in the morning. For now, I just want to get some rest. That night, I lay on an old, musty bed, the mattress sagging beneath me. I tried to sleep, but the silence was oppressive, broken only by the occasional creak of the house settling. Then I heard it, a faint whisper, so soft I thought it might be the wind. But it wasn't the wind. It was a voice, thin and delicate, murmuring words I couldn't understand. Curiosity burned through my fear. I followed the sound, my flashlight casting long, flickering shadows across the walls. The whispers grew louder as I ascended the stairs, my heart pounding with every creak of the wooden steps. They led me to the attic, a place I hadn't dared explore earlier. The door was slightly ajar, the darkness beyond it impenetrable. The attic was colder than the rest of the house, the air heavy and oppressive. My flashlight's beam cut through the gloom, illuminating stacks of forgotten belongings and cobweb-draped furniture. The whispers grew louder, more insistent, until they seemed to echo inside my skull. Then I saw it, an ancient chest, its wood darkened with age and its metal fittings tarnished. My hands trembled as I opened the chest. Inside lay a ceremonial mask, unlike anything I'd ever seen. It was carved from a dark, lustrous wood, its surface polished to an unnatural sheen. The eyes were empty voids, their precision unsettling. As I stared, a voice whispered my name, a childlike voice, soft and sing-song. I gasped and dropped the mask. It landed with a dull thud, and suddenly, the shadows on the walls began to shift. They moved against the beam of my flashlight, twisting and elongating into grotesque forms. I stumbled back, nearly tripping over a broken chair. The shadows seemed to watch me, their presence oppressive and invasive. Desperate for answers, I reached out to a local historian, Mr. Blake. He was an elderly man with a keen interest in the occult, and he listened intently as I described the mask and the whispers. His face grew pale as I spoke. "That mask," he said, his voice trembling, "is cursed. It belonged to a cult that worshipped an entity they believed lived in mirrors. The mask was used in rituals to summon the entity, seeking forbidden knowledge." As he spoke, I felt the air around me grow colder. The whispers had followed me back from the attic, growing louder and more insistent. Shadows danced at the edges of my vision, even in the well-lit room where we sat. Mr. Blake, and I knew we had to act quickly. We returned to the mansion, armed with gasoline and matches. The mask lay where I had dropped it, its empty eyes staring up at me. The whispers were deafening now, a cacophony of alien voices that seemed to resonate within my bones. The shadows moved more aggressively, taking on humanoid shapes that reached for us with elongated limbs. With shaking hands, we doused the mask in gasoline and set it ablaze in the fireplace. The fire roared to life, consuming the mask as the shadows screamed, a high-pitched, inhuman wail that made my skin crawl. As the mask burned, the whispers ceased, and the shadows dissolved into nothingness. But the mansion did not escape unscathed. Flames leaped from the fireplace, catching the old, dry wood. Mr. Blake and I fled as the fire consumed the house, its once imposing structure collapsing into a smoldering ruin. I never returned to the mansion. The villagers spoke of the fire in hushed tones, their fear of the cursed house replaced by unease about its destruction. I tried to move on, but the experience left scars. At night, in the silence of my own home, I sometimes hear faint whispers, as if the mask's curse had marked me. Even now, I wonder, was the mask truly destroyed, or did it merely transfer its malevolent power to something or someone else? The question haunts me, as do the shadows that seem just a little too dark, the whispers that come just a little too close.